let's zero in on cricket and a few assorted topics with Robert Craddock. Hello to you, Crash.
G'day, Gerard. How are you? Yes, it's things just warming up, aren't they, cricket-wise?
What a
damp squib that was last night.
proper damn squib. What a pity with 40,000 in Perth, the vast majority are Indian fans. We just never got a crack at it.
Yeah, the week frustrated me, Gerard. I just felt cricket, I've been saying it for years, but I'd love to see a big season launch, a snap and crackle moment where it all explodes, whereas it just sort of comes like a rising tide, doesn't it? And there was Virat Kohli in his farewell Australian tour and Rohit Sharma. Would have loved them to have done press conferences 2 days out from the game. A lot of Australians turned on their televisions yesterday, didn't even know Virat was in the country.
Yes. So we were debating this today. White ball cricket has been used as the soft entry into the season. Is it... Now, it works because it's India, and full credit to India. They have brought their team proper, and there's 8 games. Do you promote it on the way in, or do you use the 8 games to progressively promote the fact that this is the cricket season on the build to the Test series?
I'd like to see it have its own promotion when you've got star quality like that. Like, there's a lot of Indians in Australia. The game in Sydney is almost sold out. And I just think that, you know, it just worries me that Australia's very docile on its promotions. And it worries me, especially next season when New Zealand are coming for 4 tests. Try and sell that one, given you know what like New Zealand are when they're in Australia. They barely ever win a test here. So they'll get away with it this year because of the Ashes. And we all know that's roll gold, the money rolls in. And the money will roll in for television rights for this one as well. But I want people up and talking about this series, Gerard, and it's not happening. And, as I said, yesterday at coffee shops, even people saying, they'll have an interesting team, won't they, without Kohli? No, he's here, And so, where's the snap and crackle? That's what worries me.
The snap and crackle is Mitch Marsh, who's in great, he is in great long-term form now after you did that terrific piece last week. Even he was thinking maybe it was over.
Gerard, when you get Andrew McDonald on next time, say to him, did you ever think there was a time when Mitch Marsh was going to leave international cricket? And he will tell you, it was on. Mitch was so close to the end of the road. He was a broken man. His back was aching, and he was dropped from the Ashes, and he just felt, when he got that first ball duck to Will Sutherland, like he was inconsolable. And the beauty of Mitch Marsh is that he's so self-deprecating. Like, he just doesn't rate himself very highly at all. And he tells all these stories about surfing out beyond the waves, trying to get away from cricket. And some bloke in a surfboard will say, any danger of you scoring some runs? You know what I mean? Like, he can't escape from it. That was during his downtime.
Yep.
But he's come back refreshed. He's a father now, and he's just... It's funny when you bounce off the bottom of the barrel, Gerard, which is what he did. It can sometimes, when you realise that you're so close, you can actually see the end of the road. Sometimes you can play with that sort of abandon, and that's what he's done. It's wonderful. He's the best story of the summer by a mile.
And he's got the white ball captaincy, so he's got a big role to play in Australian cricket. His answer on it keeps getting asked about the Ashes. You see, I've bought tickets to days 1 and 2. I haven't asked the wife if I can go yet.
It was a real perfect Mitch Marsh answer, wasn't it?
It was.
Look, I don't think they're going to... Well, I'll tell you what he is to them, and they basically said this off the record. He's break the glass in emergency example. Like, that's when he could come in if, something happens and Green goes down again and Bo Webster's ankle injury doesn't come up. But he's not bowling now, Mitch. That's the thing. Like, he's a specialist batsman who averages 28 as a test player. So, look, as a mid-Ashes stormtrooper, he's a rough chance. But I've got to admit, they do keep mentioning his name, Gerard, the selectors, unprompted. It's quite interesting.
If it did become a bashathon, and it won't, because I'm certain the pitches here won't allow for it, but if England's curators suddenly took over our grounds and produced those docile pitches just to bash it around, that's the circumstance in which you would bring him in, because his hitting is just so pure at the moment.
Yeah, it was something he's always had since he was captaining in the Under-19 World Cup. the stories I remember floated back from, and everyone said, you should see how hard this kid hits the ball. He was like Bam Bam from the Flintstones as a kid. You know, that kid who just didn't know his own power. And of course, the other side of the game sort of got him, the subtlety side, where you know, you need to have subtle hands and all that, which he never really had. But now he's just playing as he likes to play, forcibly and with great command. And I'm not sure about the pitches because I keep hearing that there is a collective concern, and everyone denies this, all right? But there's a collective concern with Australian cricket in such a average financial position. They do not want 2.5-day tests. They want tests that go the distance, and that means flat decks. And I think the decks will be flatter than a lot of people think. I really do. And also, flat decks are what magnifies the difference in quality of the attacks. You throw up a green seamer to England, the type they might get at Leeds or Headingley, and suddenly you bring all their seamers into the game. So it's such an interesting debate. It really is, Gerard. It's which pitches suit Australia in the Ashes. I flow back and forth on it. You know, I'm still not sure.
I'll be mortified if we produce flat pitches. Mortified.
Yeah, even with Stark, Hazelwood, Boland, Lyon?
Just produce slightly better pitches than the Indian series. I don't think Perth and Sydney were any good. And Melbourne was a little bit too flat. Hopefully they've learned from that. But make them sporting pitches. When England was here last, remember the way they nicked off at the MCG? Don't give them... I think England have betrayed their own Test cricket with the Test pitches that they have been producing so that they can just sort of stand and deliver. Don't give them stand and deliver cricket. That would be crazy to me.
Yeah, look, it really is interesting. But I've yet... You know, I was just thinking, it's been so long since England have won a test here, like 2011, not a series, a test. Yeah. Gout was in preschool. So it's just, that's what they're up against this season, England. And I know there's all these big and there is a chance for them. Australia is in a state of mild disarray. But every time, like I was listening to the BBC the other day and they said, and the attack of Wood and Archer, well, Wood's played 2 games this year. 2 first-class games this year. Archer is flaky. He is injury-prone. And there has never been... I tell you, this is what there's never been, Gerard. There's never been an English fast bowler come to Australia and said, physically I was a bit off when I went to Australia, but I played all 5 tests and went really well. Doesn't happen, you know?
No. And there's a world of difference between an England attack led by Archer and Wood and an England attack without Archer and Wood. Like a world of difference.
Well, how do you beat... Here's a simple question. How do you beat Australia, in Australia, where you haven't won a test for 14 years, without a fast... But when you do not know your fast bowling spearhead? Now, maybe someone's going to jump out. Maybe it'll be Bryden Cass has a great series or someone like that. Josh Tongue, I don't know. But, geez, they're shopping at short notice from a hero from nowhere.
Yeah, I'd be edging against either of those scenarios. Or what's keeping you awake from an Australian perspective?
I just think just the 3 injured guys, Cummins, continued speculation. If you said, all right, have a guess on Cummins, I'm saying missing the first 2 tests. Then you've got Bo Webster hasn't played in the Sheffield Shield yet with his ankle injury. And then it always worries me when Cam Green, they say, he's got a slight side issue. That's the sort of issue you don't mind if it's the 5th test of the series in Sydney and he's limping through to an off-season, but they haven't played a test yet. Yeah. A side injury to a fast bowler is a terrible, terrible thing. And, Gerard, I really enjoyed Greg Chappell's book of columns the other day where he spoke about Cam Green at number 3 because of his size, 200 centimetres, and only a batsman could write it because only a batsman's been through it. But Greg said, when I was playing Test cricket, I used to say to Bruce Laird all the time, gosh, mate, all those balls that sail over your shoulder, they hit me on the body. And he said, big guys are an easy target. He said, I love little guys up the order. And, of course, all these people piled in on Greg and said, how can you say that? But have a look at the Test run scorers list. What have these guys got in common? Don Bradman, Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, Ricky Ponting, Kumar Sangakkara. They're all short guys. Yes. And I know that there's Graham Smith and Matt Hayden amongst them, but pound for pound, the shorter guys are with quick feet, are very prominent.
Greg's going to be in the studio here on Wednesday, so I love picking his brain like many do. Marnus has done exactly what we needed, Crash. Not grubby 40s. Century after century after century after century.
Well, this is a prediction that you got right. You got it right last season when you said the theory that, look, if you send Marnus back to Shield cricket now, he'll be right in a few months' time. He'll sort himself out. And they waited and waited and waited. But you're ahead of the game on that. I wasn't. I wanted him to stay in the team. But in retrospect, the break could have come earlier. But what he has done and what the selectors like, Gerard, it's not so much the 4 centuries, it's the intent. He wants to score runs again. And you mentioned Greg Chappell. There was a beautiful paragraph Chappell's got in his book, and it says, when you think defence first, like when you think, better not get out here, you immobilise all your attacking instincts. And he said, you bat clunky. As soon as you do that, think, right, I've got to survive here. He said, so much of you freezes. And I thought that's exactly sums up where Marnus was and where he's not now. He's moved on. He's high energy now. He's back. His feet are going. I quite like the fact that he put on Instagram after one of his centuries, point made. That's all he said.
Yes.
And hey, that's good. I don't mind him thinking like that with a bit of a swagger. I think he's probably favourite to open, Gerard. Have you got him favourite to open?
Oh, I wish they wouldn't. I sincerely wish they wouldn't. Australia's batting works when he's at 3. No, don't. I'm a bit sick of just trying to shuffle things around to cover a deficiency. Just put him back at 3 and let him return to being the best batter in the world.
Yeah, but hang on. If you've got him 3, you've obviously got Weatherald opening. Is that correct?
I do. And yes, pending one more Shield round.
Yep. But here's the thing. If you've got Weatherald opening and you've got Marnus 3, you've only got room for Webster or Green. And I assume you're going for Webster because you need his grubby overs of medium pace, correct?
I'm going Green at the moment until I see what's happening. But I'm definitely only playing one of them.
Yep. Well, my worries is Green won't be bowling.
Yeah,
and
so then I'm Webster.
Yeah. Well, I still think Green can carry himself as a specialist batsman. If you're averaging around 50 in first-class cricket, you're good enough in a very modest field to be in there. He's a batsman of the future. And hey, the best gully fieldsman we've had since goodness knows whom. So I've still got him in, but it is an interesting debate. And Gerard, I felt the best debate I heard on the weekend was Brad Haddon and Mike Hussey, who both debuted at age 30, if you don't mind, was saying how Sam Constas needs a couple more years of Shield cricket, and he's 10 years their junior, of course. So they were relevant observations for guys who had really good careers, 60 and 70 tests, after debuting at age 30, like 10 years older than Constas.
I do think there would be, I referenced at the top, I like Pete Lawler's thought yesterday. He reckons there's people death riding Constas to justify their own opinion. I think there is an element of that. But what Australia needs is Constas to find his way, to find his game. And if the best way to do that is say, hey, don't worry about Test cricket for a little while. But right now he's batting every time like he's marching to the gallows. Which is perfectly right, because if he gets his game right, he's probably in. If it's not there at the start of this Ashes, then I think there would be wisdom saying to him, just take your time now. We'll come back to you. Just go and find your game.
Yep. And someone said to me yesterday, how would Sam Constas be going if he was playing for England? And I had to concede this, Gerard. We do have our reservations about Bazball, but I think they would have embraced him for who he is and said, hey, Sam, trip the light fantastic. Be what you are. Do what you want to do. And I think he'd have been more settled in that environment, you know. But with Australia, he knew the selectors second-guessed him, didn't they? They dropped him for Sri Lanka. And then all of a sudden he's thinking, I've got to work on this and then that. So he's a confused kid at the moment. He won You and I will go to our have our dying breath, knowing that he won Australia that Indian series last year when he completely threw the England's radar, scrambled their radar in Melbourne. So that was a masterful selection. But now he's the nowhere man. And at age 20, he doesn't know what he wants or what he should and shouldn't be doing. So, yeah, he just needs time to solidify. It's happened so many. And, Gerard, look at the batsmen who've been dropped. Don Bradman was dropped. Stephen Moore. I think Ricky Ponting was dropped 3 times.
Yep. It shouldn't be such a big deal.